Most first-time founders think that the only way to get funding for a startup is by handing over equity or signing life-sized loans that'll haunt you for years. I used to believe that too, until I walked away with $9,000 in free seed money after a pitch event. Today, I'm unpacking exactly how I did it, step by step, so that you can replicate the same results. I'm Joseph Mitchell, 20 years old, fresh out of an entrepreneurship degree, and obsessed with sharing the unfiltered path from idea to income. You'll hear the wins, the fumbles, and the tiny tweaks that turn my idea into a funded venture. Buckle up, because the story starts with two spectacular failures. My very first pitch was for Luxera, a gold-plated jewelry brand I just knew would crush it. I strutted into the pitching room like $1,000,000, confidently asking for $5,000 from the judges to order just inventory. In my head, my business plan was flawless. Buy jewelry cheap, mark it up, pocket the spread. Easy. Within 10 minutes, the judges had shredded my deck. They drilled me about manufacturing costs, shipping margins, differentiation from every Shopify jeweler on Instagram, and most painfully, proof that anyone wanted my basic designs. I had zero solid answers. Even forming sentences felt impossible under that glaring spotlight. Round 2 happened a semester later. Determined, I reshot my application video with a rebranded version of Luxera, with a better idea of who my target market was and a solid foundation on the brand identity. I had already personally invested thousands into Luxera without any real sales, so I needed this funding to afford to keep the business alive. I got an email days later and never even reached the final round. To me, this was proof Luxera didn't address a genuine, pressing problem. I finally admitted to myself that I had begun with a solution, attractive jewelry because it looked cool and had enticing profit margins. But there was no pressing pain point, just my personal enthusiasm. This clarity set the stage for the pivot that would change everything. While speaking to a mentor of mine who deals with real estate, she mentioned spending $1,500 on a single listing video. Instantly, my brain lit up. I had already been filming social media clips for local businesses. The idea of shooting a house for $1,500 felt like life on easy mode. Additionally, I had spent years experimenting with cameras and FPV drone simulators, maneuvering drones at up to roughly 90 miles an hour. A cinematic fly-through of an empty house suddenly seemed far easier and more enjoyable than filming content for social media marketing. In that moment, the idea for SkyAxis was born. A high-impact real estate media business featuring FPV drone videography. I was not planning on pitching this round, as it usually takes about 4 months to prepare, but with the idea in mind, I got a pitch deck done the same night. I showed it to my mentor and I immediately knew I was onto something. With a little tweaking and validation, I knew that there was potential to receive some funding. Fast forward nearly 4 weeks later, and the pitch competition was a mere 24 hours away. I had a basic pitch deck, but no tangible market validation. Desperate to increase my credibility, I jumped in my truck and drove around Naples, visiting 13 real estate offices. Some receptionists were nice, others dismissed me outright, but a handful of agents generously shared some chats about the power of quality visuals in their industry. I tried to remember everything they said and wrote it down afterwards to add to my pitch. This external validation provided the authentic grounding my pitch desperately needed. Pitch day arrived. My ask was specific, $9,700 to cover all of the startup equipment that I would need, including insurance and everything else. 3 judges sat at the front, 2 scribbling notes furiously and 1 nodding attentively. Determined to avoid another disaster, I'd crammed every conceivable detail into my slides. I still was grilled with questions, but this time I had better prepared and knew exactly how to respond. After all presentations concluded, the judges closed the doors for deliberation. 2 nerve-wracking hours later, they announced their funding decisions. I was finally able to start something that solved a genuine problem. That win was exhilarating, but the journey taught deeper lessons more valuable than the money itself. Let's unpack these insights into 5 principles clearly so you can get funding for your business. The first principle, chase necessity, not novelty. Always ask, if customers ignore this, will they lose money, time, or reputation? Real estate agents literally lose out on thousands in commissions when listings stagnate. That urgency translates into real budgets. If your idea doesn't pass this necessity test, keep refining it. So the second principle is interview strangers, not loved ones. There's a book called The Mom Test that explains why asking friends or your mother, "Do you like my idea?" is inherently flawed. They protect your feelings. Instead, ask objective questions. How do you currently handle this task? What frustrates you when you're doing it? What problems do you run into? When strangers start venting frustrations, you've struck gold. The third principle is to create a detailed line item budget. Investors and judges fund clarity. In my case, I itemize every cost: drone pricing, software subscriptions, liability insurance, and editing labor. When asked why exactly $9,700, I could easily point to the spreadsheet. Clarity eliminated doubt. The fourth principle is to rehearse tirelessly, then rehearse some more. Whatever amount of practice you initially plan, double it. I rehearsed until my roommates could recite my pitch verbatim. On pitch day, it was clear which teams had pitched countless times, and they secured the biggest checks. And the fifth and last principle is, and I got this wrong in my pitch, but intentionally invite questions. You don't want your pitch deck to answer every possible detail because you want to present the core essentials clearly, but deliberately leave strategic gaps so that judges naturally ask predictable questions. This allows you to showcase mastery and control pacing without overwhelming your audience. Now, where can you find equity-free funding yourself? Here's some ways that you can start looking into immediately. I'd recommend looking into grants, business pitch competitions, and etc. to potentially get your business funded without equity or debt. Just make sure that it says that before signing anything. This is not legal or financial advice. Finally, a critical word about validating ideas. Surveys are helpful, but someone's willing to hand you a check or even say, "Call me when you're ready." That's authentic validation. Anything else is mere speculation. To translate today's story into actionable steps, take this 48-hour challenge immediately. First, write a clear one-sentence problem that definitively passes the necessity test. Second, cold call or personally visit 5 strangers fitting your exact target audience, asking the mom test questions. Third, draft a precise budget detailing exactly how you need it to get started or to grow your business. Fourth, rehearse your pitch at least 10 times. Record yourself, critique relentlessly, and repeat. Execute these 4 steps and you'll already be miles ahead of my initial Luxera attempt. Equity-free capital absolutely exists for founders who solve urgent problems, provided you back your ideas with genuine conversations, meticulous budgeting, and relentless practice. If this playbook sparked inspiration, hit subscribe and share your biggest business roadblock in the comments below. I'll use your questions for future deep dives.